Welcome back to Master 79. Today we are working through ielts speaking parts 2 and 3. Cue card number 52. Describe an intelligent person you know. One quick note before we start. Where we say band 9 in this video, that is our own assessment against the public ielts descriptors. It is not a certified examiner score, and our candidate, Mai, is invented for teaching. Copy her technique, not her content. Here is the plan. First, how part 2 actually works. Then the cue card exactly as it is printed. Then a 60-second planning method, a full model long turn, and all 4 part 3 questions with the thinking behind each answer. We finish with a language bank and the band 9 criteria. Part 2 is the long turn. The examiner hands you a card, gives you 1 minute to prepare, and then you speak alone for 1 to 2 minutes. You get a pencil and paper. You will not be interrupted and you will not be rescued. That silence is the whole test. Here is the card, reproduced exactly as it is printed. Read it twice. The 3 bulleted lines are not suggestions. The examiner is quietly ticking them off as you speak. One thing worth flagging. The 3rd line on this card reads how you knew this person in the past tense. The standard wording is how you know this person. We have left it exactly as printed. Treat it as how you came to know them, and cover both the long answer and the moment you really met. The timing matters more than most candidates realize. 1 minute to plan, 1 to 2 minutes to speak. If you stop at 40 seconds, you have not shown the examiner enough language to award a high band. Aim to still be talking when the examiner stops you. So how do you use 60 seconds? Well, 4 rules. Line 1. Who this person is. Notice I do not write a sentence. Cousin Fyung, 8 years older. The person I look up to. That is enough to talk from. Line 2. How I came to know her. There is an easy answer, she is family, and a real answer, the moment we actually connected. Good candidates give both, because the second one carries a story. Line 3. What she does. Be specific, not scientist. Computational biologist who codes protein folding for vaccine design. Specific nouns are free marks under lexical resource. And the final line, why you think this person is intelligent. This is where the band is decided, so give it 3 separate reasons, and attach a picture to at least one of them. A jar of honey and a spoon. Ant colonies. Those images are what the examiner remembers. Finally, plan your last sentence. Never trail off. Land on an idea. And that is the whole plan. 7 short lines written in about 50 seconds. That is all you need to speak for 2 minutes. Now the model answer. A reminder, Mai is an invented candidate, and the cousin she describes is invented too. What is real, and what you should steal, is the structure underneath.
I'd like to talk about my cousin Fyung, who's about 8 years older than me and has always been the person I look up to most intellectually. As for how I came to know her, well, she's family, so in a sense I've known her my whole life. We grew up in the same neighborhood in Hanoi, and our families were close enough that we'd had dinner together most Sundays. But I'd say I only really got to know her when I was about 15 and struggling badly with chemistry. She offered to tutor me, and those sessions turned into long conversations about all sorts of things. These days she works as a computational biologist at a research institute. Essentially, she writes code that predicts how proteins fold, which feeds into vaccine and drug design. It's the kind of work that sits right at the intersection of biology, mathematics, and computer science, which I think tells you something about the breadth of her mind. Now, as for why I consider her intelligent, it's not simply that she's quick, although she is. 3 things stand out. Firstly, she has this remarkable ability to take something fiendishly complicated and explain it in a way that a 15-year-old could follow. She once explained enzyme catalysis to me using nothing but a jar of honey and a spoon, and I've never forgotten it. Secondly, she's genuinely comfortable saying I don't know, which, ironically, is something I associate far more with clever people than with people trying to appear clever. And thirdly, she makes connections that simply wouldn't occur to anyone else. She'll be reading about ant colonies and suddenly see a parallel with the algorithm she's been stuck on for a fortnight. I suppose what I admire most, though, is that her intelligence never comes across as intimidating. She wears it very lightly. If anything, she's made me more curious rather than more self-conscious, and to my mind that's the real mark of an intelligent person. They make the people around them think better too.
Here is the whole answer in one place. Pause the video and read it back against the 4 lines of the card. Let us be precise about what you just heard, rather than guessing. So what actually earns band 9 there? 5 things. Part 3 is a discussion, not a long turn. The questions get more abstract, the examiner pushes back, and answers run roughly 40 to 90 seconds. You are being tested on whether you can hold an argument, not whether you are right. Question 1. Are smart people happier than others? Do not just say yes. The strongest move here is to challenge the premise, then concede the other side, then commit to a position anyway. Notice the shape, no, possibly the reverse, but let us be fair, and here is where I land.
Not necessarily, no, and I'd actually argue the relationship might run the other way in some cases. Intelligence tends to come with a heightened awareness of everything that could go wrong, so very analytical people can be prone to overthinking. That said, I don't want to romanticize the idea of the tortured genius. In practical terms, cognitive ability is correlated with better education, higher income, and better health outcomes, all of which do support well-being. So my honest answer is that intelligence gives you the raw materials for a good life, but it doesn't guarantee contentment. That depends far more on relationships and temperament.
Question 2. Do you think smart people tend to be selfish? This question contains a stereotype, and the examiner wants to see whether you swallow it. Reject it, then do something better. Explain where the stereotype comes from. That single move lifts an ordinary answer into the top bands.
I'd push back on that, to be honest. I don't think there's any inherent link between intelligence and selfishness. Plenty of brilliant people have devoted their lives to public service. Where the stereotype comes from, I suspect, is that highly capable people are often given a lot of latitude, so when they do behave badly, it goes unchallenged. There may also be an element of envy in how we read them. If anything, I'd say intelligence simply amplifies whatever character someone already has. A generous person becomes more effectively generous, and a self-serving one becomes more effectively self-serving.
Question 3. Who do you think plays a more important role in a child's development, teachers or parents? This is a false binary, and the weak answer is simply both. Both, on its own, sounds like evasion. Split the idea instead, foundations against outcomes, and then still pick a side.
It's tempting to say both, but if you push me, I'd give parents the edge with a caveat. Parents shape the foundations, language exposure, emotional security, and crucially, the attitude a child has towards learning in the first place. That's laid down long before a teacher ever meets them. Teachers, on the other hand, are decisive for specific outcomes. A single inspiring teacher can genuinely redirect a child's whole career. So I'd frame it this way. Parents determine the baseline and the values, whereas teachers determine the ceiling and the direction. And of course, the children who do best are the ones where the two are pulling in the same direction.
Question 4. Why are some children more intelligent than others? Why questions want causes plural. Give at least 2, then say something about how they interact, and finish by questioning the label itself. That final move shows critical thinking, which is exactly what part 3 rewards.
There are several strands to it. Genetics clearly plays a part. That's fairly well established, but I'd say the environment does at least as much of the work. Things like how much a child is read to, whether they are asked open questions rather than simply being told answers, nutrition in the first few years, and how much sleep they get all feed into it. What interests me most, though, is the interaction between the two. The child with a particular aptitude tends to seek out the very activities that develop it, so small initial differences compound over time. And I'd add one caveat: a great deal of what we label intelligence in children is really just the head start of a supportive home.
Bank 1. Language for describing a person's mind. These are the phrases that make a description sound native rather than translated. Bank 2. Opinion and hedging language for part 3. Every one of these buys you thinking time while sounding more sophisticated, not less. Bank 3. Whole discourse moves. Learn these as complete units and you will always have a way into a question you have never seen before. And here is how the 4 criteria actually apply to this answer. Again, Band 9 here is our own assessment against the public descriptors, not a certified examiner score. Before you go, the 5 mistakes that cost most candidates a band on this exact card. Your challenge: take the card, set a timer for 1 minute, and build your own 7-line plan. Then record yourself speaking for 2 full minutes without stopping. Play it back and check one thing only: did you answer all 4 lines? If you did, you are already ahead of most of the room. See you in the next one.